The United States has announced a major decision that could deeply affect millions of people in Somalia. Washington says it is halting food assistance to the country after claims that large quantities of humanitarian aid were illegally seized and diverted away from those who desperately need it. This move has sparked serious concerns among international aid organizations, Somali officials, and human rights groups. What really happened to the food aid? Who is responsible? And what does this mean for Somalia's fragile future? Today, we break down the full story. Somalia is one of the world's most aid-dependent countries. Decades of civil war, political instability, drought, and famine have left millions relying on international assistance to survive. According to the United Nations, more than half of Somalia's population faces food insecurity. Children are especially vulnerable, with severe malnutrition remaining a constant threat. For years, the United States has been one of Somalia's largest humanitarian donors, providing food, medical supplies, and emergency relief. Food assistance to Somalia is mainly delivered through international organizations and trusted partners. The goal is simple: make sure food reaches civilians, not armed groups or corrupt networks. Billions of dollars have been spent over the years to prevent famine and stabilize the region. But monitoring aid delivery in conflict zones like Somalia is extremely difficult. Despite safeguards, allegations of diversion have surfaced repeatedly. Officials claim that significant amounts of food aid were illegally seized. Some reports suggest that the food ended up being sold on local markets, instead of being distributed to starving families. Others fear that armed groups or corrupt local actors may have intercepted the aid. These allegations triggered alarm bells in Washington. The U.S. government says it cannot continue assistance if it cannot guarantee that aid reaches its intended recipients. As a result, the United States made the controversial decision to halt parts of its food assistance program to Somalia. Officials stress that this is not a punishment of the Somali people, but a response to serious misuse concerns. However, critics argue that suspending aid could worsen an already catastrophic humanitarian situation. Somalia's government has strongly denied involvement in any illegal seizure of aid. Officials say they are committed to transparency and have promised to cooperate fully with investigations. They warn that halting food aid could push millions closer to starvation and undermine efforts to stabilize the country. Humanitarian groups are deeply concerned. Aid organizations say cutting food assistance could cost lives. They urge the U.S. to improve monitoring instead of suspending aid altogether. Many warn that innocent civilians will pay the price for crimes committed by a few. For ordinary Somalis, the decision could be devastating. Families already struggling with hunger fear that food supplies will disappear. Parents worry about feeding their children. In rural areas affected by drought, aid is often the only lifeline. There are also serious security concerns. If aid is diverted, it may strengthen militant groups like Al-Shabaab. Food can become a weapon used to control populations or finance violence. This is one of the key reasons the U.S. insists on strict oversight. The decision sends a strong message beyond Somalia. Other aid-dependent countries are watching closely. The U.S. is signaling that accountability is non-negotiable, but critics worry this approach may discourage aid delivery in the world's most fragile regions. Experts suggest alternatives: stronger tracking systems, biometric verification, digital monitoring, and closer cooperation with local communities. The challenge is balancing accountability with urgent humanitarian needs. The U.S. says aid could resume if safeguards improve. Investigations are ongoing, and discussions with Somali authorities continue. For now, millions wait anxiously. This crisis highlights a painful reality. Humanitarian aid saves lives, but only when it reaches the right hands. As the world debates responsibility and accountability, Somalia's people remain caught in the middle. The question now is whether the international community can protect aid from abuse without abandoning those who need it most. The United States has halted food assistance to Somalia after allegations that humanitarian aid was illegally seized. US officials say food meant for starving civilians may have been diverted away from those in need. This decision has sparked international concern and raised serious questions about accountability and humanitarian aid. Somalia is one of the world's most aid-dependent countries. Years of conflict, drought, and extreme poverty have left millions facing hunger. For many families, international food aid is not optional, it is a lifeline. According to US investigations, large amounts of food aid never reached civilians. Instead, it allegedly appeared in local markets or was seized by armed groups. These claims raised fears that aid was being exploited for profit or power.